All right, everybody. Good evening. It is 6 o'clock. It is Tuesday, July 28, 2026. This is the meeting agenda, of the Halifax Board of Selectmen. We are in the Great Hall. It is 6 o'clock, and I will call this meeting to order. This meeting has been posted in accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20B, and pursuant to Chapter 30A, Section 20F. Notice is being made that this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on Area 58 Community Access Channel. The board chair reasonably anticipates the following matters will be discussed and or voted on at this meeting. Agenda items may be taken out of order for time management considerations. And before we start, those willing and able, would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Good sized crowd for tonight. I guess the first order of business, now that the Board of Selectmen is open for business, is to have each the Finance Committee and the Halifax Elementary School Committee also open their meetings. So we can start with the ladies to my right, please.
It's 6:01 p.m. and I will open the Halifax Elementary School Committee meeting. Do I need to do a roll call vote or it's just open? Is anyone on this phone? What? Nope. Okay. All right.
Okay. Jim?
The Halifax Finance Committee opened its meeting at 5:30. We adjourned and now have reconvened in the Great Hall with the Selectmen. We have one member on video. That would be Rodney Hemingway.
Okay. So as mentioned in the previous statement, agenda items may be taken out of order for time management considerations. So I'm just going to skip right ahead to letter B on the agenda item, which is a joint meeting. As mentioned, we are joined by the Halifax Elementary School Committee and the Finance Committee. For purposes tonight, we will look to appoint a new member to fill a vacancy on the Halifax Elementary School Committee. And to that end, we have 4 candidates who submitted Talent Bank application forms. And we always thank those who do that, volunteering their time and efforts for the town, and that's to be commended. So the listed applicants are Samantha Cox, James Hopkins, Crystal Kingsley, and Derek Wigman. Do I have Samantha here this evening? Okay. James? Okay. Crystal? And Derek? Derek withdrew. Okay. Okay. So I guess at this point I would turn it over to the school committee, and we will defer to you.
As we did last time, we want to ask questions in order so that they're fair. So if we could have, I don't know the best way to have all the candidates come up.
You want to set up some chairs?
Oh.
Do you guys want to set up
Yeah,
some chairs?
well,
right there?
yeah, if they could sit up here with the microphone, I guess. Or do you want to sit here? You could sit here if that works.
Wherever you guys want to go.
No, I think this works great.
All of us at once?
Yep. So if you could just do a brief introduction. I know we have the Talent Bank forms that for everyone else, so.
Sure, for the microphone.
Crystal, yeah.
So my name is Crystal Kingsley. I'm 49 Hemlock Lane in Halifax. I'm a mom of 2 in the school department. I'm a healthcare executive that has a background in finance, operations, and strategic planning. I really was hoping you weren't going to do that. But that's me. 2 dogs. Have a great time, and it's a summer.
Okay.
Here you go, James.
Thanks. James Hopkins, 20 Pond Street. Dad of 4, 3 kids in school right now, 1 on the way. I'm a retired naval officer, intelligence ended it as a chaplain. I adjunct every once in a while. Don't have a background in educational administration. I don't know if that's good or bad. I guess we'll find out.
Hi, Samantha Cox, 417 Twin Lakes Drive. I spent many, many years working in early childhood ed, was also director certified, so I had a little bit of the finance part of it there. Other than that, I'm actually a personal trainer. I work with seniors and I teach mostly at Council on Aging's. And yeah, I don't have a background in finance or administration either.
Okay. How we did it last time was we asked a question and the Board of Selectmen asked a question. Is that how?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Sure.
I guess I'll start with my question. What made you decide to put in a talent bank form for school committee?
That's the process.
Oh. Well, as opposed to maybe like running for election, for instance, or.
So I think at the point of election, there was a lot of town heat, and I think it took a lot of thoughtful process to go through what the town does need. Does it need an elected official? Does it need someone to sit here and be part of this type of process? And again, as a mom of kids in school, I really do think it's an opportunity to give back to the community.
Okay.
I just saw the announcement online when I saw the upcoming agenda. I saw that there was a need. I have interest with kids in the school system, and also I like to be involved in the towns that I live in. So I saw that overlap. I thought maybe I'm a good fit. I do work with a lot of committees more for myself from as the executive and not as the ones on the committees, but I have familiarity with how the boards and the committees work. So all of that together seemed like a good moment.
Thank you. I'm the short one over here. I had been on the override committee, so I hadn't applied for anything in terms of votes. And there was only the one position that was actually open, and then we were writing Tara in, so I wasn't going to go against her. And after learning as much as I did about the workings of the town and how the overrides work, and just the financial state of what everybody needed, I really felt it was important to have the school committee be supported by as many of us as possible. My child is much older and doesn't even live here anymore. He lives in Philly. But it was always really important to me, the school committee, when he was in school and how much it was able to help the school as well. So that's that. I don't know, nope.
Okay, I guess my first question, you're jumping in midterm. This seems like an opportunity to fulfill, a vacated seat with an expiration date. Seems to be a good opportunity for learning. Depending on how it goes, what would your appetite be towards continuity at the next expiration date?
I think it's important if you're going to put your hat in mid-range, you're going to want to be further along into the years. This isn't something I think is just, let's do it for 6 months and say, yeah, I've had enough. We're here. It's time. It's the town. It's the need.
Yeah, I think it's premature for me, honestly, to say whether or not I would want to stand for election afterwards. I think that would have to go. I'd have to see how well my own skill set and commitments work with the board, whether I'm a good fit or not, and rather than say at this moment for sure I'm going to dig in. I'd like to see how the fit goes.
Yes, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to just do it head on and stay there. I do work with a lot of other committees not involved in town as well. And no, once you have me, so long as you'll keep me, I'm there.
And then, I know it's your turn. We should rotate who goes first.
Right.
Oh,
Well,
yeah, sure.
Everything goes first. Do you think? Yeah. All right. Oh, okay.
My question is, what was your best strength or asset that you would bring to the committee?
Sam, you want to go first?
Okay.
I don't care. I think my biggest strength could be, to think outside the box. I'm always willing to try to find solutions to things that work for people coming from all different angles, not just like looking at one side of something. I think that's my strongest. Somebody else might tell me to.
I think my biggest asset that I would bring to it is just coming in with a bit of a fresh lens. I've only been living in town here for 4 years, so I'm not coming in with kind of a lot of preconceived ideas about this. That sounds like a potential criticism. I don't know how long anyone else has been in town though. So coming in with fresh eyes, I like taking a new look at a situation and trying to be critical, trying to be objective and fair. I do this a lot. I work as an executive with about 9 committees under me, and with them, I try to do more of kind of like a shepherding view and more big picture vision guidance than micromanagement. So this would be working, from the other side of it.
I think my biggest asset is collaboration. I'm really good at listening and trying to figure out what part of the situation needs to be solved and who's going to be that team that's going to be able to encompass the thoughts, the views, whether they're good, bad, or ugly, and be able to have robust communication at the table, because that's what you're supposed to do and need to do in this type of atmosphere.
I'll take the hit this time.
You go back to you.
All right, ready for the tough questions? How do you deal with the pressures of being in a political position with all the people that's on Facebook and can say, how do you deal with that? How would you?
I'm so ready for this question. I'm not on Facebook. I guess one of the things, although all of this is transitory, I'm happy to serve at the pleasure of the public. If I'm asked to serve, I'm happy to do it. I like to be useful, which involves being effective. I think it's difficult to be effective if I'm worried about what every single person thinks. I care, but that care can't saturate every decision I make. I'm not somebody who's frequently going to be like polling the public to say, hey, I've got this vote coming up on this issue. What do you think? If you want me to serve, it's because you want to know what I think. And I'm going to act and vote on what I think. So you can have that or not.
It's an easy one for me too. I'm fine with it. I dealt with it on override committee. I've dealt with it with other stuff, as Ellen can attest. Basically, keep the conversation going, but keep it polite. Don't shut anybody down because they disagree with you. You just open up the conversation, try to point to different facts, and don't take it personally. Everyone's gonna have their own opinion. You just take it or leave it. And I feel like just trying to educate everybody and being as transparent as possible is gonna be the best thing you can possibly do. Back over.
I love that. I think social media has an extreme power in this community if done correctly, appropriately, with kindness, with transparency. So I'm super looking forward to that type of back and forth online during the different platforms. I'm going to give some kudos to Tara, because what she has started is something I thought would be great moving forward. This is what it is. These are the minutes. Do you have questions? Here's to go. I think as a community, we're all trying to figure out what's going on, and there's so many different sites for Halifax that we really need to rein it in a little bit, just to have a central location of truth, and then from there, a pointer. So it's not, I heard this and you heard that, and what's really the truth. And good luck to somebody who tries to tear me down on Facebook.
First, I just want to say thank you to all of you. Read your talent bank applications, and you all have incredible knowledge, skills, and abilities, and clear passion. So I just wanted to quickly just say thank you for putting your name out there. My question is, what do you think are the biggest opportunities and challenges facing Halifax Elementary School and serving on the school committee for this upcoming year and future years?
You want me to go first? Opportunities and challenges, definitely two different paths here. I think there's an opportunity for further transparency. I think there's an opportunity for a level of understanding in a town that probably hasn't had that, and that's not criticism to anyone. I just think there needs to be more information put forward that's tangible and at a level that everyone understands, who doesn't come from a finance background, who doesn't come from a strategic background, who doesn't come from a business background. It's just a mom trying to figure out, what do we got to do in the next round of school supplies, and do we have to do an override? Is there a way? Do I have all the facts? So I think it's really both. It's transparency and educating the town on what we really need and what it means.
I think our greatest opportunity is that every single year we have a chance to help shape the minds of our children. That's what education is for. And the biggest challenge to that is completely perennial, and that is the fiscal and personnel obstacles to it. Sometimes we can easily identify what that is. Sometimes it's harder. Sometimes you got to do a lot of listening. Sometimes it's easy to know right away, and I don't know yet.
I think one of the greatest opportunities is actually sort of everyone together. If the town together and all the different committees can actually find more ways to communicate, find more ways to be open with each other, so that the town can then see that as well, I think that can make a huge difference in how people react to things, vote on things, and just feel about different situations. That if everyone's on the same page by a certain point, whether that be a vote or whatever, then it's going to be far better. It's going to be the biggest opportunity we have. And thinking on the other one. I feel like
That is Mike from 4Kids. Trying to figure out what's going on. I thought we had a check ready for yesterday. It did not show up.
now I've got the second half of the question.
Excuse me, a little help.
There we go. That was the other one. Thank you. Yeah, just made them all. Caesar, probably.
Caesar. It might be. The other room.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're
All right. Other half. Challenge. Sorry. The biggest challenges are going to be to actually accomplish what I think our biggest opportunity is. Pretty simple.
Okay. Get back to us now? Yep. Okay. So again, like Tara said and I said previously, thank you for throwing your hat in the ring. No matter what happens tonight, I recommend and hope that everyone comes back for this or another opportunity, because everybody, there are always opportunities to serve the community in this capacity or others. So my next question, I guess probably the last one that I would have tonight, is, if you're chosen and appointed tonight, you're part of a team. Bill and I said I'm a part of a team with Jonathan. Sometimes you get outvoted 2-1. And while that may come with some personal disappointment in the moment, your charge would be to regroup, reassess, and work together collaboratively with the rest of the team to honor the vote and the succeeding side. So how do you deal with disappointment? How do you deal with measured success and valuing all members of teams no matter the side they were on during deliberation?
Yeah, that's the cost of doing business. That's life together. And if you can't, work with the team that you're appointed to work with, when you collectively, reach an agreement, you're only useful up to the point of your vote. And then when it comes to execution, which is always the special sauce, right? Getting a vote done is part of it, right? Execution has to happen after that. And you need the whole team on the front end and the back end. So if you can't be a team player on the back end, you're not allowed use on the front end either.
It's just part of life. So basically, if you're in a big group, no matter what it is, whether we're a team here, a family at home, whatever, you get outvoted on some things. And so therefore, you just join with the group and back them up and move forward as best you can. Everybody together, backing that idea, working together. You don't go and sulk.
I think at some point, disappointment is part of who we are, and how we handle disappointment is how the team then moves forward and operates. I think everyone has an opportunity to sulk and be like, that stinks, but it's how you regroup. It's how you are able as a team to say, I know you're disappointed, and it's okay, but let's regroup and do the next thing, because the next thing is going to be even more of a challenge, a further challenge, or a better decision, or it's just going to be something, more collaborative down the road. And I think it's just how you are as a person. I mean, there are people that just can't throw their hands in the air and move on, and there's others that shake their head and go, all right, let's move, put the boots on, let's go.
What does success look in the first year of you on the school committee?
Success looks like children getting the education that they ought to receive and our bills getting paid.
Unfortunately, you may have just answered for me too. But yeah, supporting the teachers, supporting anybody in the school system, and really trying to get the best for them, trying to get the money that is needed, trying to work with the other committees to try to back up the school the best possible. And it's not all going to go right. We know it's not. Yeah, there's a lot of bumps in the road ahead. But I think success is everybody being able to work together and accomplish as much as we really can. I mean, there's a lot going on between the ideas of regionalization and busing and kindergarten and all that. So getting the best for all of those things that you're talking about, getting the best outcome for them so we can provide best for the kids.
Wait one, it's okay. I think cohesiveness might be something a little different than what my friends here are talking through. I think cohesiveness and I think successfulness of the first year is a cohesive unit in government that has transparency, that brings the town to a different level of understanding.
So being on the committees is a big commitment. Is there anything that's going to prohibit you from attending meetings, town meeting, and all that sort of stuff?
Meetings are normally.
Just so we're rotating.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I only work part-time because of my disability, so the only thing that stops me coming to meetings is either I've had another hip replaced or I need surgery of some point, and then so long as Zoom's an option, I'll be there.
Okay, thank you. I think we're a team, so if hockey's running late and I've got the phone number of one of my colleagues, I'm gonna be there 15 minutes. It's communication at its finest. Not everyone's gonna be able to be at a meeting or be on time, but if you can share that wealth and knowledge and communication, I think it's easier and palatable to be late or miss something when your team understands that there's going to be a competing priority. We're all moms and dads and business owners and executives. We all have a separate life here. I just think it's important to understand what the expectation is, plan around it, and if something happens, it happens.
Monday's my day off. I might, in the fall term, be teaching on Mondays, but it should be like noon to 1:30, so shouldn't be any time getting back early. I only travel really quarterly right now, and I could zoom in when I do that, and it's usually Monday's a travel day, but I'm usually landed and all that by then.
You covered a lot of mine.
I know. Everyone asked a good question. Yes, do you have any?
I think we're okay. Yep. I just wanted to mention, I should have mentioned to start, Selectman Jonathan Seeley could not make it tonight and wished you all well. I think this is his first missed meeting maybe in his tenure, so. Wow. Toward that end, we should talk about how the voting process works.
Right,
Can I just jump in real quick?
Yeah.
I am going to recuse myself from this vote. I do have a personal friendship with one of the candidates, and I'm going to recuse myself from the vote. So with 4 members here, I don't know how you want to handle the voting process. It's supposed to be, I believe, from my understanding, all sitting members for the vote. So there are 7 in total, which means that 4 carries the vote.
Okay, but as long as there's a majority, no, it still has to be 4.
My understanding is this.
It has to be a majority of the sitting members that would be voting.
So even though some aren't here and you're not,
Should be
so
7.
it's not, okay.
7 total.
So
Yep.
7
Right, no,
total.
I understand that. I just thought it applied to whoever was here. Okay, so how it works is we make a nomination, and I do want to echo everyone in saying thank you for coming and stepping up, and I know personally for me, this is a hard decision, and because there's value and I can see value in everyone, and but anyway, and if there are openings in the future and you aren't chosen tonight, we would certainly hope that you would throw your hat in the ring again. It's just that we simply can only choose one. And I mean, I'd take all of you if we could. So, it's not how, so anyway, no, so someone has to make a motion to vote to appoint an individual to. We have enough people to vote because we have a majority, so. And it basically has to be unanimous for it. So someone would make a motion, whoever wants to make a motion to appoint one of these individuals, and then we would have a vote. So if anyone would like to make a motion, they can, and the motion has to come from us, correct?
I don't know the answer to that. Jill, do you know? Yeah, I'm not aware of anything that says it has to be one of those. Gordon?
Process previously, it was just, even when I was on the selectmen, the elementary school committee process is just one of the voting members gets to make the nomination, it needs to be seconded, then you vote. If the person doesn't get the required vote, somebody else would then make a nomination to be seconded.
Or if that original candidate is not seconded.
No, but my question too is if the motion has to come from a certain board.
No.
Okay, that's my question.
I can make a motion.
Okay.
I actually really don't want to make a motion, only because, as Lauren said, all three of you are incredible, like truly incredible. And if we could take all three of you, I would absolutely take all three of you. I'm thinking about both what what the school and the town needs, but also the structure of, like, I think the current school committee, and like adding in different perspectives and knowledge and skills and abilities. So I guess at this time, I will be happy with anyone, but at this time, I will make a motion to elect, nominate James for a position on the Halifax Elementary School Committee. Did I say that right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
So is there a second, I guess is the next question.
Is there a second?
Okay. Not hearing any seconds, we can entertain other motions to appoint.
James.
I feel like we're all trying to speak with our eyes.
I know. Again, so same, I think that everyone's amazing and would be such a great asset to this committee. And if you don't get appointed today, please come back if we have others, because, or on our board or on any board, because I think it's so awesome that everybody in this is here and we all want to be a part of the community. And I just encourage everyone to be a part of the community. And that's how we work the best, right? I personally think that we really need somebody with I would like to work with someone with a strong financial background on the committee, because I feel like that's where it's tough. And when we start to do the budget, I feel like somebody with a strong financial background would be really helpful in our committee. So with that, I make a motion to nominate Crystal.
Second.
So then we have a vote. Roll call vote. Jody?
Yes.
Tara?
Yes, absolutely.
Myself is a yes?
Yes.
And I abstain.
Okay.
Okay, thank you to all the candidates again. Thank you, Halifax Elementary School Committee. Congratulations to Crystal, and again, don't be strangers to the next Talent Bank applications. Okay, piggybacking, yes. Yes, she'll get certified to the town clerk's office. Yeah, yeah.
Like now? You don't have to sit. No, you can't get there till, just wait until you are sworn in.
Crystal, you can meet with Sue Lawless tomorrow to town clerk at any point to be sworn in and get your little card. Okay, all right. Yeah, I'll be here. Yeah. Okay. Okay, moving on, piggybacking way down on the agenda, we do have the superintendent of the Silver Lake School District here, Dr. Jill Proul, for potential discussion on circuit breaker money. This is relative to news that came out at the last Halifax Elementary School Committee meeting, and Dr. Jill is here. Dr. Proulx is here to speak about it.
Thank you. As you have stated, in our July closeout meeting with our school committee, our business director was able to share that we were able to return approximately $700,000 to the town. The ability to return funds stems primarily from a 2023 structural budget change and a temporary windfall in circuit breaker, which is special education reimbursements. In 2023, Silver Lake and Union 31 updated their budget structures to comply with state regulations. As part of this change, secondary and pre-K special education students were moved out of the Halifax Elementary School budget and into the Silver Lake budget as required. Because Halifax had previously funded the costs for all grades, pre-K through grades 12 plus, in the 23-24 school year, Halifax received the state circuit breaker reimbursement for all of those students. However, because secondary and pre-K students were no longer on the Halifax Elementary School budget, the town was allowed to apply that full, larger than usual circuit breaker reimbursement, as well as their larger special education grants, solely to the remaining few eligible elementary K through 6 students. This temporary boost in available circuit funds, $1,035,368.63 used this year, allowed Halifax Elementary School to cover a significantly larger share of its special education tuition and transportation directly from the circuit breaker account rather than using FY26 budget, freeing up the local tax money to be returned to the town. It's important to note that this is a one-time temporary surplus. Going forward, Halifax Elementary School will only receive circuit breaker reimbursements for elementary students, K through 6, meaning funding will be less in the future since it's based on fewer students. Two main timing factors prevented the district from knowing this exact outcome until July. In April, district leaders had reached out again to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to ask if they could roll over the excess circuit breaker funds into the following school year instead of spending or returning them. The Department of Education met with the district in July and officially ruled that they would not allow circuit breaker funds to be extended into another year. Secondly, it's important to note that circuit breaker reimbursements for the preceding school year are formally filed with the Department of Education every year in July. For example, the FY26 claims were filed on July 13th, 2026. The official filing schedule in the July meeting with the Department of Education finalized how much funding could be used and required the remaining balance to be settled. In addition, I have copies of frequently asked questions that I presented the other day to the town, but I'm also happy to share them with you. These are the questions that came up not only through the budget process, but also in light of the circuit breaker, so all of those have been compiled here. In addition, we have included our date for our public budget hearing, which is scheduled for February 8th. So if, with the permission of the chair.
Sure.
Extras for the community.
Thank you, Dr. Proulx.
You're welcome.
At this point, does the Finance Committee, our board, or the Halifax?
I have a question, which is more just a general, why do we have town meeting before the budgets are completely settled for the state of Massachusetts? It seems like we could avoid a lot of what ifs if the budget was set. And I know like fiscal year ends June 30th, but a lot of the questions we're getting are because the state budget wasn't set. We don't know a lot of how much funding we're getting, grant money, and so many things. There's so many moving parts just with the elementary school budget, never mind the Silver Lake budget. And I just wonder why. we can't like wait.
This came up. We asked this year. We asked, admittedly late in the game, but it was brought up about what would it take to move the town meeting. It is possible. I believe it's written into the bylaws to have it at a certain point, but it is possible to move it. But I don't believe you want to get in the habit of moving it the eve of. It should be established.
Well, that's what
long
I'm saying.
before.
Now that we've been through such difficult financial years, and part of the difficulty with the override was really, I mean, there were a lot of problems, but the town, no matter what, has a revenue problem. No matter however you do the budget, everything, we don't have enough money coming in. And there's the waters have been so muddied by so many things, including not having budgets set yet by the state. How can you set your budget and know how much you're going to, I mean, the circuit breaker is a perfect example of this, and why, because people are like, well, if the school had all that money, why are you even asking for an override? Which, fair question, right? Except Dr. Prue just explained it really well. However, if we really know where we are, which, there's a lot of things being said, but I mean, on the record, as a member of the school committee, I want to say our town still has a revenue problem, which is, even, with all of the things that have happened, there's still not enough money coming in to cover expenses. And like, maybe we'll come up with temporary solution after temporary solution, but the real problem is revenue, whether it's from business, it has to come from somewhere, homeowners or business. That's
Exactly.
just what, and so that's where I'm thinking, like, if we can make things more clear, because I know people say transparency. It's not that we're trying to hide anything. We're not trying to pull a fast one. There are legal requirements for education. And the reason being that they don't want towns to not educate children adequately, because people will do that, to fund other departments, which the other departments are really important too. They're absolutely really, but we don't want to ask for things we don't need if we don't have all the information yet, basically.
EJ?
So just to add a little bit of color to that as well, I mean, I think the reality of it is we have to vote the budget before the turn of the fiscal year anyways, right? So if what Dr. Prue just said stands true, which is that the Department of Education didn't come in until after July 1st had already started to give the final budget, moving town meeting wouldn't really solve the problem because we still don't have the final numbers before July 1st. So I guess the bigger question is, so Dr. Prue, you had mentioned that you reached out to the Department of Education in April about this figure and when it would be available and whether or not you could carry it over to the following fiscal year. The next thing that you said was they came in July and told you that you would not be allowed to do that. Are we to believe that there was no communication between your initial ask in July with them as to a status as to what that would look like? They just came in with a hard no, you can't do it 4 months later?
No, I would characterize it, again, the request didn't come from me, it came from the special education director who handles circuit breaker for us. And our business director was also copied on the correspondence. And they went to their liaison, there was communication, and the liaison was going to look into it. The reality is that the Department of Ed recognized the unique situation we were in, where Halifax was eligible for this reimbursement, but then lost a number of the students that it could spend the money on because they were now part of the Silver Lake District, not Halifax. And they were looking into whether or not that was legally feasible. So I don't think it was that they were intentionally trying to deny us. I think they also wanted to make sure that we were meeting maintenance of effort. And one of the things with maintenance of effort is that you're expected to spend at least the same amount on special education each year. Well, when you take the majority of your students and you send them to a different district, albeit Silver Lake, you're not going to be spending the same amount of money.
Right.
So each year since 2023, we have to sit down with them and we have to go to a meeting and we have to show them how we've spent the same amount, at least in aggregate.
Sure.
So again, I wouldn't say they said nothing as much as they were waiting for legal.
So I think part of what Lauren is saying, where we hear a lot about transparency and making sure that we all have the same and as much information as possible as we go through the process. So if there is dialogue that's going on a significant topic like this between April and July, and it's going to potentially have an impact on the budget, I think that's the only thing that we can ask of each other, is that we break down those barriers that we have where we're not sharing those communications with each other. Because if we know that it's a yellow flag that's out there, that there's a possibility that something's going to happen with $700,000+, at least we can have preparations for that in either direction, rather than just being told in July that, hey, it's available. And we had no idea what was out there. So I think that's what I look for, is the opportunities for us to improve the process that we control as a group versus trying to manage the Department of Education, which we all know we're not going to be able to manage.
Can I just ask a clarification question about the maintenance of effort? Is that an aggregate or is that a per pupil expenditure? So in other words,
It's how much the school spends in total on special education for certain categories. And in this case, they looked at what we spent on all of the students, even though they were in different districts, so that we could prove that we were meeting maintenance of effort.
so even if you have substantially less students in a subsequent year, you're still required by the law
Yes.
to spend the same amount, even if you have 60% of the students? That's special needs costs specifically?
So, again, I apologize, my special education director is on vacation this week, so I'm doing my best to try to answer
Sure.
on her behalf as well. My understanding is that they have exceptions where you can file and explain why certain things might be different.
Okay.
But all things being equal,
Okay.
yes, you need to spend the exact, at least the same amount. But if you have something significant, then the special education director can go in and explain that. Now, the reality is that our special education director does the very best she can. She has, in a sense, 4 separate budgets. She works for 4 separate districts. And she has to do 4 separate maintenance of efforts, 4 separate sets of grants, 4 separate circuit breaker reimbursements. So again, in terms of timing, she's really doing the best she can to give you real-time numbers.
Okay. Anybody else from the Finance Committee at this time?
I have a couple of questions. Can you tell us over how many fiscal years this has been accumulating? I mean, I see 4 represented here, but, you know, are there more, or is this a
So
longer-term issue?
you can carry over your grant for 1 year only.
Okay,
And
so
so-
what happens to the funds after that carryover year? They go back to the state, does the school absorb them?
They go back to the state
They go back to the state?
if they're not spent.
Okay, so, but you're returning these dollars to the town this time,
We're returning the dollars to the town because we were able to use the circuit breaker
right?
on expenses in the school budget.
Okay. So, looking at your fiscal year, your funding numbers here, has the town been overassessed for these, over these last couple of years? Because there seems to be a lot of leftover money.
No,
No?
I wouldn't characterize it as overassessed.
Okay.
I would say that we went from having 21 eligible students
Right.
to 3, and only 2 years to spend it.
Mm-hmm.
And the circuit breaker funding is a reimbursement for monies we already spent.
Right.
So it's it's a reimbursement for the 21 students that we had already spent the money on that previous year. And then we only had 3 students, but they reimbursed us for the previous year. Then we went down to 3 students, but the money was still spent and still went to Halifax because that's who spent the money.
One of the things that many communities do, which was presented to this community many years ago, was a special education stabilization fund. And so when things like this happen, communities are able to put excess into stabilization because, as you know, special education costs can vary greatly and they can change even within a single school year. So one of the things that you may want to consider for the future, which did not pass the last time it was presented, is a stabilization fund.
Does Kingston have one?
Yes.
Does Clinton have one?
Yes.
Just Halifax does not have one.
It does not.
Dr. Poole, do you know the last time that was revisited? You said years ago.
I believe it was in my first year as assistant superintendent, so maybe 2017.
Okay. Not a final call, but anything else from the Finance Committee at this time? Halifax Elementary School at this time? Any questions? Bill? Anybody from the crowd? Public participation, comments, questions for Dr. Poole? Mary?
Mary Gravities. I just have one question.
Mary, can you just come to the microphone, please? Sorry. Name and address, please.
So I got this stuff that actually Laura was nice enough to send.
Name and address, please, Mary.
Mary Gravities, 98 Clyde Bosworth Road. Lauren was nice enough to send me these paperwork yesterday. I guess what I'm confused about is in 23-24, we had 21 students, and our funds were at 430, and now we go up to 26, and we only have 4 students, but I'm just confused about the numbers, because in 25, we had 1,023,000 and circuit breaker remaining. I don't understand how these numbers go when we lost so many students. If we're not funding special ed students, why are the numbers still so high?
That's the money that's left over from the circuit.
From 3 years ago, though?
It was from the year before, but Jill, you can
That's
answer.
what I just didn't understand, because I read this chart, I just didn't understand it.
Yes, in that first year, 24-25, $1 million was carried over. $1,023,000 was carried over from the previous year. Now, you'll recall, not only did we have extraordinary amounts of circuit breaker because we had fewer students to spend it on, but we also had the same problem with grants. So in that first year, our special education director worked with the Department of Ed to make sure that we got all qualified expenditures paid for with grants so that we wouldn't have to return money to the state, allowing us to carry over with the hope that we might be able to get additional time, knowing that the state knew our unique circumstances. That was not the case, and so we then took that money and applied it to all eligible opportunities. Now, the thing with circuit breaker and grants is that you can't just spend it on anything that would benefit even just special education students. There are very specific categories and very specific expenses that it can be spent on. So if you don't have expenses in those areas, you can't use the funds. I hope that clarified.
Anybody else? Please.
Gordon Andrews, 244 Elm Street. Just a word of caution here, that the money's coming back now because the number of students dropped. When we look at the preschool numbers, right now preschool is on Silver Lake's tab. So we can forecast a little bit when the kids from preschool move into Halifax. So there will be years where that bumps. You'll hold that funding for the reimbursement for 5 or 6 years. And then we're going to have a lag on that money, and we're going to run into the same sort of issue where if you have a really high cost student, you could end up back in the same situation where the town is being returned money because it had affronted years before.
Anybody else? Dr. Prue, I don't know, you're going to be with us tomorrow night in the non-resident section. I don't know, did you want to speak to any of the articles here tonight in advance of that, or did you want to hold off until tomorrow? Specifically, did you care to mention anything that you'd mention tomorrow about if the school was to be returned, any proposed funds, what that might look like?
Sure. If under the article $200,000 was returned, then Halifax Elementary School would ask the school committee to allow us to post and hire 2 classroom teachers with that funding. And then we would do our best to hire 2 people before the start of the school year and then get class lists out to parents as soon as possible. So that would be my recommendation to the school committee in terms of how to prioritize that money. Okay. And that would help us to lessen the number of students in classrooms, especially in those areas where classroom sizes are the largest.
Would we be able to make a motion tonight preemptively for that, since we're not having, I guess we could have a school committee meeting, because, we'll just have another school committee meeting after the town meeting. So.
We can.
Okay.
Marvin, has the school committee voted a different budget since town meeting?
We have not.
So then, I would recommend at your next scheduled meeting, you vote an updated school budget, one way or the other of how tomorrow night goes.
Dr. Prue, I got one more question for you. With the governor releasing more Chapter 70 funds, do we expect any more for Halifax?
It's possible. I've heard, I haven't heard anything definitive in terms of what we can actually expect, so I'm cautiously optimistic.
Do you have any idea when that would take effect or timeline?
I know that it's controversial for some. So, again, until we actually see what it means for our town, it's hard for me to speculate on what it may be. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you for being.
Just one, I'm sorry, just one last question, Dr. Jill. The 18 students that left Halifax that you have marked down for 24 to 25.
Yes.
Where'd they go?
They went to Silver Lake.
They went to Silver Lake or?
So they're either pre-K students
Uh-huh.
or they're secondary students.
Okay, so 18 in that, after that went into the high school or into Silver Lake Regional?
Yes. Or the middle school.
After the 23-24 year or after the 24-25 year?
Oh.
The reason they stayed where they were, basically wherever they were, but it was the restructuring of the district, where it used to be that Halifax paid for all of our special education students, but we were told by DESE that we were doing it incorrectly, that so then the pre-K program became a part of Silver Lake, and so we weren't paying anymore for any of our pre-K students because they were under the umbrella of Silver Lake and not under Halifax anymore. And the DESE required us to restructure because we weren't doing it correctly, basically, in our district.
So they didn't go anywhere?
They didn't go anywhere.
Well,
they're still in yeah, that's what I was trying to explain, that they left our books, that's it.
But that was my question on maintenance of effort. Is it just dumb luck that we lost 6 out of 7 students in the restructuring and only had 3 left behind?
So in addition, some stayed where they were, but some did graduate onto the middle school.
Right.
Or to the high school. So not everybody, hopefully not everybody stayed in the same grade.
I don't mean stayed behind. I don't mean stayed behind, but I mean stayed behind in terms of our numbers. We're left,
Right.
we said we had 21.
Right.
We had 18 move in some
So
different
the-
direction, either moved out of town or to a different school.
The great
And
news
just
is
by luck,
that
we have 3 left.
that first year, you've got a ton of money for all those students.
It just seems like an anomaly
The
that
bad
18 to
news
21
is
would
that you
move in
didn't
1
have
year.
all those students to spend the money on. That first year, Silver Lake received no circuit breaker reimbursement.
And they spent the money that year, but we got it, so.
I'm not arguing where it was spent. It just seems
Yeah.
it just seems like you can't be predictive of 18 out of 21. That's 83% of things that stayed that moved on. That doesn't seem like that's statistically likely to happen very often.
Well, it's really purely because of the redistricting and how we used to assign special education students before the redistricting, and then how DESE, because really, we're a school district for pre-K, then the kids go back to the town for the elementary school, and then back to the district 7 through 12. So it's kind of odd that we have 3 separate elementary schools in this district. I mean, I guess I'll say that, maybe not everyone shares that opinion, but it's interesting that we pull out, and we have all these school committees and all these, budgets, because this elementary schools are still separate.
So linked to this document, you can see prior to the 23 restructure, we came to the town and talked about the need to redistrict, that for years we had been treating our special education programs as if they were part of Silver Lake, when in fact special education programs belong with their schools, whatever the grade level may be. and we asked for us to be able to officially recognize pre-K as part of Silver Lake and to begin correcting what had been done incorrectly for many, many years, decades. Your special education students are the students in your Halifax Elementary School. Students who attend the middle and high school in pre-K are part of the Silver Lake District and should be coming out of the Silver Lake budget. This is confusing to some because with vocational education, it's different. The state allows us with vocational education to charge that back to the towns. So I know that that's it's a confuser for people, so that's why I mention that, because I know that that sometimes comes up. Why are we allowed to do it for this group and not for that group? And it's primarily because it's considered discriminatory with special education.
Jody, did you have something?
Well, I think that, just like to clarify a little bit, I think before the restructure, to kind of put it in a different perspective, if you lived in Halifax, if you went to the middle school or if you went to the high school, Halifax, because if your address was Halifax, we paid for your special education, Halifax did. But we don't do that anymore. Now we're only paying for special education for the kids who live in Halifax that go to Halifax Elementary School. The district is paying for our Halifax kids now who need special education fees and costs there. So I think that's why it jumped from being so large, because we had 21 special students who lived in Halifax who attended the other schools at one point, and now we're only paying for our Halifax students who go to the elementary school. So I think that that's like a little bit more of an explanation, I think.
Sure, but correct me, sure. But if there are 14 grades to be considered, preschool, kindergarten, and then 1 through 12, we're now saying that 7 of them belong into Halifax and 7 belong to the district. 7 grade levels, correct?
Yeah.
Right? So it's still a statistical anomaly that 18 of 21 would be out of Halifax, regardless of how you do the math. The fact is that we have 3 in our 7 grade levels and 18 now out of them. So that's still not anywhere near split. So I still think it's an outlier, that's all.
I had another question, if I could.
Sure.
Sorry. Just going back for the 200,000 for tomorrow's meeting, I know we were down 3 full-time teachers.
Yes.
Is there a way that we can get 3 full-time teachers back if we were given that $200,000?
Again, it will depend upon where they fall on the salary schedule. And you may be able to get a part-time FTE for the 3rd. So depending upon where the first 2 hires fall on the salary schedule, it will determine what remains.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. Of the two teachers that would be hired, what grades would they be, and what are the current numbers in those grades?
I'm sorry, I don't have that information with me. I can tell you, if you go to our website and if you go to Halifax School Committee and if you go to the March presentation, there's a slide. And thank you. You can probably see the class sizes we just need to be careful that we're using the ones where we reduce the FTE, not the ones where the FTE remain the same. And then that should tell us what our largest class sizes we anticipate will be.
At a minimum, maybe we could have that tomorrow night just for anticipation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry about that.
No problem. While they're looking, we can keep going. Gordon?
So just another conversation piece is that when you're looking to fully regionalize, this conversation yet changes again, and the method of funding special education will change again. So you might be in this system for a year or 2, and then everything could change again if we go to fully regionalize, which for special needs actually makes more sense for the town.
Anything on that? I think we're still efforting over there. Jim?
Just have one final question. Is this a one-time return, or is there going to be other monies coming back in different fiscal years to the town? And how is that being accounted for, or what policy is in place inside of Silver Lake to make sure someone is keeping an eye on this so that it can be, taken care of on a year-to-year basis instead of accumulating and then having a gross amount.
It's not impossible to return money to the town. I don't anticipate it ever being this large again, but I can't guarantee you because I don't know what the influx in or out of the community would be. The mechanism that governs us is the state and federal laws. We can only spend the money on things that qualify, and we can only get reimbursement for children who qualify or expenses that qualify. So all of these things go through the Department of Education, it goes through the state, federal grants go through the federal government. There's a lot of oversight as to how grants and reimbursement work. And so whenever there's money that we can defray the cost of the local budget, we're always going to try to do that to the best of our ability and return whatever we can to the town.
Sure. So I would anticipate that being a yearly event, right? So someone inside your organization administratively is watching this,
Yep.
right? Because I think we can all, or at least let's not say all, I can at least see $750,000 is a lot of money to be sitting in an account somewhere, and then somebody say, "Oh, no, I got to turn it back." So what I'm asking is there something in place moving forward that can prevent this type of an accumulation to this scale to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Or can we ask for a status and be privy to that information upon ask?
Of course, yes. I mean, if you pose the question, we can tell you at any point in the year where we are. It will, again, when we build the budget, we build it on an estimate. And we tell you, this is an estimate. Circuit breaker we put in this year was based on an estimate. It could have gone up, it could have gone down. Circuit breaker, best practice with circuit breaker is to carry over funds into the following year because it is such an unpredictable budget. And so most school communities want to have a healthy amount of money to carry over into the next year for unforeseen special education costs because they're not costs that you can say no to. And they're not costs that you can control. So if a child has a particular need, you're going to pay for that need whether or not you budgeted for it. And so that's why people carry over hundreds of thousands of dollars in circuit breaker. And that's a common practice throughout the Commonwealth. That's not characteristic of Silver Lake or Halifax. That's just how schools do it.
So I thank you for that response.
Yeah.
So I think that what's in place to keep it from getting to such a large size moving forward?
Well, in theory, we would have a better balance between the number of students who are eligible and the amount of money coming in.
Right.
If we were to do another restructure, we could have another imbalance. What's in place is that we have a single special education director who services 4 districts and who comes to every school committee meeting, and we present a budget to the school committee every week. If there are particular questions about circuit breaker and the timeliness of circuit breaker, that information is relatively easy to obtain, albeit it can change drastically from one day to the next, because children's placements can change drastically from one day to the next.
So what's the average of that then? In an average school year, how much does the special education student head count fluctuate? Average, 5, 10, 100?
Yes. It could.
Okay.
I can get you an average.
For a reasonable number, not something.
I will get you an average for the meeting.
Okay. All right.
Mary?
So the special ed, Mary Gravenese, 98 Clyde Bosworth. If the special education director is working for all 4 districts, is it unreasonable for the town, whether it be the selectmen, finance committee, ask that on a quarterly basis, we get a report that shows what we have spent for special ed and what we are asking for back in circuit breaker money? If it's our money and she's working for us, I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for a quarterly update. Can that become part of our requirement of the special ed director? If we're paying her, I think we should be able to get what we need from them so
potential to enter into an option to lease agreement with the town. One thing that I will mention is that we are a vertically integrated company, so that means that we have all of the capabilities to develop, construct, and operate these in-house. We have no intent to sell any sort of lease, or the entitlements that would come from going through this process. We want to enter into an option to lease agreement that is located at, let me orient myself, the Hemlock Lane landfill. I believe it's that way. We were just there before coming in here. Around 1 megawatt. This was all brought about during a 2023 RFP solicitation process that my colleagues and Stephen's predecessor went through. Nothing materialized from that, so now we would like to bring this back to the table now that we have a little bit more information, and would like to investigate whether or not we can make a solar project with a battery happen at that landfill site. So as you'll sort of see, and I believe you have the summary of the option to lease agreement, we are proposing to enter into an option to lease where we give the town immediately $5,000 to enter into this option agreement. We would then have an initial term of 2 years, renewing at $5,000 per year, to conduct all of these studies, surveys necessary to determine whether or not a project at that location is possible. Those studies and surveys would primarily be with the utility, so National Grid in this case, as well as the Department of Environmental Protection, to make sure that the landfill is actually capable of hosting a project of this nature. Now, once we were to get all of those approvals and entitlements, specifically with the town, but also with the utility and the state and some federal agencies, we would be proposing to enter into a 25-year initial term lease agreement to lease the premises at the landfill, which will be more defined as we come to an agreement on the lease at a later date, to construct and operate the solar facility at the landfill site. We do not want this to be a risk for the town, and I believe we have presented a agreement that has satisfied those conditions. Just to give ballpark numbers, and I do want to clarify that these are estimates based on, assessor's value over a 25-year cycle. We would be providing around $2 million of all-in benefit to the town over that 25-year period. A 30-year period would be just around $2.5 million for the town, 35, $3 million, and 40 would be just over $3.5 million. So we would be taking on a lot of, or all of the risk in investigating whether or not this is a realistic option for that site, and we would hope to provide benefit to the town in terms of both the rent payments as well as the personal property tax payments that would be owed to the town based on any of the improvements that we would make on the site, so all of our equipment, etc. So with that, I will say that, obviously this is a very preliminary. We will need some sort of agreement in order to investigate this further and adjust any of the site plans that you may see in that presentation that I shared with you. However, we would like to get your feedback on both the process for going through something and getting a lease agreement like this approved, as well as your initial thoughts on the project and the site itself.
Yeah, so I can give you guys a little bit more background if you'd like. So just to bring everybody up to speed on this, my predecessor had begun working with Agilitas to develop this site. I think the site actually came across a couple issues with the cap, related to the cap, and as far as what would need to be done to correct the cap issue before we are putting any other sort of structure or any other sort of anything potentially out there. So the cap will need to be replaced. So that's where I approached this conversation again with Sam, with the understanding that the town understands that there's potentially, the site's not fit for this operation as of yet. Now the other flip side is my previous position as an energy manager. I understand how long these agreements can take with Eversource as far as hookup and as far as all those agreements that go on behind the scenes when you're actually talking about the establishment of these sites from a lease agreement, which is essentially phase 2 of this, because tonight's really phase 1, where they're proposing to maintain their lease option rights of the site. Then that lease option rights, once the site would be corrected to a condition where they could actually place the solar and actually entertain the solar option, then they'd be able to move into producing the site, and then the lease agreement would kick off. Where, as Sam was just saying, as we get closer to interconnection with Eversource or whoever the primary electric producer is around here, you would end up changing that based on whatever market rates would essentially be. So if the cost of electricity goes up, obviously the lease agreement will go up. So again, I've operated and managed many of these projects. I've seen them go through this process of having a lease option available prior to an actual lease going in. Again, this gives them the right to operate on the site and also provides the town with a little bit of revenue with, I'll say, from my opinion, no risk. But that being said, I would suggest that if the board does decide to approve this or make a motion on this tonight in any regard, that motion would be to send it off to town council for review and then have it come back for signatures and any other minor edits.
I was just going to ask, there are 39 going on 40 bullet items here for consideration for the drawn up lease agreement.
Yep.
Mindful of previous conversations, is this fairly boilerplate in terms of a lease agreement, or is this specific to Halifax, and what can we expect from a billable hour standpoint from legal? Is this an hour worth of review, or is this heavy lift?
So this would go to a particular individual at town council, and he's generally pretty quick. It's a contract like this, from previous experience, probably an hour or two of review time, and then you get back.
I can add to it that this is specifically meant for Halifax, but we're not rewriting any formulas here. There is a lot of language in here that you would see in any typical lease agreement in Massachusetts, but we have made it specifically for the Hemlock Lane landfill.
Sure. Bill, do you have anything?
We get to vote on this tonight?
No, I would say I would follow I don't know if we need a motion or not. I would, this is not to be, cliche, but this is above my pay grade, this 39-page contract.
Mine
If
too.
we're interested, I would recommend having legal certainly look at it before we proceeded and kick this off to a future thing.
Can I ask, so you're gonna survey the site. Are you also gonna repair the damage to the site?
So we, as part of the process of getting all of the permits that we would need, specifically from the Department of Environmental Protection, the state, they would place conditions on us to get the site ready in order to make it safe and ensure that a project is actually feasible at the site. So in terms of cleaning it up, that would really come from the instructions of the Department of Environmental Protection. And they would put a lot of conditions on us to say, before you can break any sort of ground, these are the steps that you have to take in order to make sure that this is a suitable landfill for a project like this.
What is like the warranty that on the landfill cap that you replace? You put the solar panels on, how long's the expectation it's gonna last?
How long the solar would stay on there?
Yeah.
So, typically we like to estimate it at 25 years. We have seen that as technology has gotten better, they can last, at least the solar piece can last up to 40 years without deteriorating to a point where you would want to take it off. So we would, I would say 25 years is the baseline, and it could last there for up to 40.
And if you remove your solar panels and leave, are you responsible for any damage to the cap that's there?
Yes, we're responsible for any damage to the cap. We have to, and this is listed in the lease agreement as well, we would have to return it to the state that we leased it in. So we have to put up a certain amount of money in a decommissioning bond. That would be there in case, anything happens, we abandon the project, that money is there to take care of the decommissioning. I'm not an expert necessarily on what that decommissioning process looks like, but we would be responsible for any damage or cleanup of the site, either at the end of the 40-year life cycle of it, or if something were to happen before then, we would also be responsible for it for the whole life of it. We really want this to be no risk to the town and only benefit in terms of the tax revenue and the lease payments.
Good.
Amy Troop, 10 Hillside Ave.
he did touch on the decommissioning, but I wanted to urge everybody to think about the decommissioning very much because the solar panels are hazardous waste, they're labeled there, and we're making, so if you just say that they last 25 years and you're, I think you said 2.5 million, is that correct?
So if it was last 25 years, it would be around 2 million, slightly over 1.9.
Okay. So we could potentially end up having a cost at the end of that time period to get rid of them. So I just wanted to be sure, and I did hear him mention that, but we would want a bond. We don't want to just be like, you guys are in charge. We would want a bond and maybe some sort of an idea of how much it would cost at today's market, and then reflection of inflation that far. Very important.
Absolutely understood. Sorry, I didn't catch your name. Amy. Absolutely understood. I encourage you to have legal take a look and make sure that you are comfortable with any sort of remediation that we would be responsible for. Our intent is to be able to cover any sort of issues that come along. I don't view hazardous waste as necessarily an issue, but all of that would be covered in all of our permits and any decommissioning bond that we do present. And a lot of those details can also be hashed out, you know, during the local permitting process where you guys will be heavily involved, we would hope, to make sure that any sort of mitigation efforts we can meet and work with the town to be a good partner.
Anything else? Nope. Okay. Thank you very much. Stephen, do we need a motion to this effect, or just?
I mean, I can, if you guys want me to run it by town council for preparation of the next meeting.
Forego the motion and ask to send this to town council for a review and another look down the line for us.
Yeah.
When the review is available.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Would you want us to have, you know, our internal team in communication with you guys as town council, or would it be presented at another meeting like this one today?
So the process would be I'll send it to town council for review. I'll get the feedback from town council and then send that along in discussions one-on-one with these guys, or just wait till the next meeting to see what their next move will be.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, did you have a question related to the same topic? Go ahead.
Chris Winowitz, 129 Circuit Street. Unless I misunderstood, the beginning of that, they would fix the cap of the lineup before they did the project?
Yes.
Would it be this-
No. They wouldn't be responsible for fixing the cap. They would be identifying the need to fix the cap, correct?
Correct.
Yes. So, no. So the town would still need to address the cap issue separately, which has been, at least had feasibility studies run on it previously. So what DEP will inform them is the conditions that need to be met in order for the solar project to proceed.
And that was presented 6 months ago for the second time at significant cost with two different options.
Yes.
So the town would actually be fixing the cap?
Yes.
And
They
then
would
once
have
it's
to fix-
fixed,
yes.
an agreement with them?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they would have to agree, even based on this, as far as, before town council reviews, in my review, based on this agreement, once that finding, that would probably deter them, because unless the town's able to fix it. So
Okay.
the town does have to fix it at some point. It
No,
does have to be addressed.
That's another discussion
Right,
then.
that's a just different
I had a
discussion for a
question
different
on
day.
that,
Yeah,
the height and the plans of that, if
Yeah.
it's changing.
No, nothing's changing as far as the capping back there, because we haven't reapproached it yet.
Okay.
It's only stands where the feasibility studies and everything has been done up to this point,
Okay.
at this moment in time.
My curious is like when it goes to get fixed or the studies are done,
Oh, yeah, sure.
what soils, like COM 97 or what would be being brought in to Halifax?
It depends on the type of capping that DEP would probably mandate as well. I mean, it would be up to DEP. So
Okay.
there's different ways to cap landfills, so maybe it's a different scenario.
Okay.
Amy Troop, 10 Outside Ave. You could always negotiate that maybe they would participate or take care of that. And also, please make sure that town council does go over the decommissioning, because again, they already are labeled hazardous waste.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay, seeing no other comment, I think we can, Bill, are we good with having Stephen contact legal counsel on this topic?
Yes, we are.
For a review of the contract as proposed? Okay?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so Stephen, let's go ahead and do that with an informal motion. On the same topic of legal counsel, skipping ahead to letter L, is the discussion on the possible reappointment of Brooks and Durensis as town council. This was not held but tabled with a 30-day appointment in late June. We did meet on this and discuss billing with legal. We spoke to other communities throughout, others who used different legal counsel throughout the Commonwealth. And this was advised that this billing, although sometimes difficult to look at, they bill in 10-minute increments. So it's 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.45, or full hour. That is the cheapest billing available. Those rates have not changed in some time. They are below market value with other legal counsel municipal law firms, including 2 that we interviewed for possible change in legal counsel less than 2 or just about 2 years ago. So to that end, I don't know, Bill, do you have anything to add to that?
Nope.
Are there any public questions or comments on the topic of the possible reappointment? Sir?
Alan Diaz, Snow Street. Yeah, I brought this to the board's attention, and one of my concerns looking at legal bills is you've got $8,400 in general matters. I understand the process, they should be billed by tenths. Why do we have certain numbers for $5,000, $8,000 just in general matters that are not broken down into tenths?
Well, I think that was addressed previously, that some of those, yeah, they were, but some of them were broken down in protection. We couldn't identify what they were.
They are broken down. They might be blurbs of what was even transpired, and it will say 0.20, 0.40. They are broken down.
Okay, in the bills that I received, there's a line item that says general matters. One was $8,400.
Right, because I didn't give you the breakdown. I'd have to go through them to make sure that I can give them to you. I mean, I still have those to do.
Okay, is there any answer to my question as what happened to the money that was applied for the zoning articles? That was one of the questions that I did have. There was,
Yeah. I have it here, I think. I might have left it.
Yeah, I remember talking about it.
I mean, is that information going to be available? I mean, we don't have to go through it. I mean, it's your decision of who you appoint for counsel. My concern was on the billing practices and what happened to the $64,000 that was allocated for zoning.
The vast majority of that, and I think we can probably.
I do have those bills. I do, and that they did.
I'm okay to talk about that.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I mean, the vast, I'm speaking from memory here, and we can get them. And I don't see a problem in releasing them, I don't think. Yeah, I think it's. Yeah. I think the vast majority of it was having town council present for guidance and research with work done by the committee.
Okay, so, I mean, I looked at some of the minutes of the meeting. I also looked at minutes of the meeting for the Town Government Study Committee. There was no minutes available. You spend $8,500 there.
What do you mean there's no minutes available?
There's no available online.
On the town government website? On the town Halifax?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't find them. You know, I'm not a computer guy, but was town council present? I mean, this is just small stuff. I mean, you're going to make your decision. I just think that information should be available.
Sure. To answer your question, town council appeared at the government study committee, which I did sit on, or do sit on. Town council appeared in the building twice, I believe, once in each room. The vast majority of that was
the review of the
town meeting preparation.
Town meeting preparation was supposed to be about $15,000. The report that I got, it was $8,500 that was spent on the government study committee for town council. Those are the numbers that I got. So if they only went twice to a meeting, how do you get $8,500? Okay.
No.
You know, You know, if that information is going to be made available, then I'm okay with that.
I mean, I have no problem having it being released in terms of what the government study. I thought, Pam, this is,
Yeah, the government study, majority of that was the actual crafting of the legal language associated with the town meeting articles.
So it was $8,500 to draft 5 articles or 4 articles?
Well, it was, let me just back up for a second. This is the government study's been going on since October of '24. So we're going on 18 months. So it's an average of $450 per month, which is 2 hours per month of billable hours. So as we developed strategies, questions, and so forth, we did lean on legal counsel. He did come twice to the building, but it's actually only about what? What's 82 divided by 18? $450? $450 over 18 months.
$450 what? If he came to the meeting twice, I mean, I asked the town meeting how much was spent, and it was a minimal amount. I found out after it was $8,500. So if he came every meeting, then yes, you're right, it's $450. But if you review the articles or drafted the articles, you're looking at $8,500. So is that, I don't know what you're paying per hour.
Well, we're paying the going rate. Whether he's here or helping via...
That I understand. But it sounds like a great amount of money for 5 articles.
It's 42 hours over 18 months. I mean, I don't...
42 hours of what?
42 hours of time.
So they spent 42 hours drafting the articles?
And being in the building and doing everything else associated.
Well, they only came to the building twice.
Right, but also the drafting of the articles, the preparation of the articles for town meeting, all of that is consumed within that 42.5 hours.
Okay, you can break it down so it looks very small. I see it being very expensive to spend $8,500 on 5 articles. That I find to be excessive. You can break it down to pennies. If he was only in the building twice, I understand that there might have been 5, 6, 10 hours to prepare those articles. So if it's 10 hours, you paid him $850 an hour?
No, I think every time he's in the building, we pay him to travel. I mean, we're getting into semantics here, but he travels down, he's here for 90 minutes, he travels back.
That's
4.5 hours, that's 9 hours. So now eliminate the travel when he's here, and we're down to 32 hours over 18 months. Which again, for guidance on a town-approved committee.
Okay. Is this practice going to continue? That's my question.
Is the government study going to continue?
No, as far as $8,500 for the government study committee, and then what happened with, we got zoning bylaws that are a problem.
Sure.
And now we have no money to fix it.
I mean, Alan, I can appreciate where you're coming from. I always do. I think you're well thought and well intentioned. Are the public records requests going to continue? Are the open meeting law requests going to continue? I don't know. I don't know what to expect. All I know is that when we're charged to do something through the town, we're not going to throw our best guess at it. We're going to depend on legal counsel where appropriate.
I agree. So basically, you'll make the information available. So
I have no problem. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, as long as there should be nothing in the government study thing that's confidential.
This one's a zoning bylaw one.
That's not that would be.
Right.
I want to defer to them on that. The government studies committee that I chair. I have nothing to hide there. So if you want to work on that at your earliest convenience.
Okay. And the zoning bylaw, that's $63,000.
That's on the agenda tonight as well. Okay. That's a different topic, but related.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. That being said, any further questions or comment on that? Okay, I will make a motion to reappoint and continue the appointment with Brooks and Durensis to represent us in all matters of municipal law through June 30, 2027.
Second.
There's a quorum here, so it's still, but there's no roll call vote. So all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you for that. Just skipping a little out of order. I know there's a couple other people here. I just want to get to one other thing online very quickly. And I'm not as good as I should be or could be on the iPad. I wanted to recognize the resignation of a Halifax police officer that we received recently notified by Chief Jobs, and I'm looking to find it here. I don't have it readily available. There's a letter somewhere.
After Hemlock Lane?
After Hemlock Lane?
After Hemlock Lane.
Okay. We are in receipt of a letter from Chief Chaves dated July 16th, 2026, informing us that Officer Paul Campbell has submitted his resignation. Paul's last day was July 14th. I just wanted to thank Paul, Officer Campbell, that is, for his contribution and his time and efforts to the town of Halifax. We certainly wish him well moving forward, and it would be my recommendation that our board draft a letter to that effect, Pam, for signature and release to Paul. You know, the Halifax Police Department is a valued asset in the community, and we'll miss Officer Campbell's contribution. I know he was big in the public with the dog, the animal control dog, Roxy. Not animal control, but the service dog, comfort dog, service dog, Roxy. And I know the kids in town, mine included, appreciated both Paul and the dog. So we submit our thanks to Officer Campbell and certainly wish him well in all future things. Good?
It's also common practice that when he leaves, the dog will go with him.
So that'll happen. So Pam, we'll get a letter going to Officer Campbell for signature and release. Okay. We have Jerry Joy here tonight. Jerry is here to discuss on the agenda. What is this? How does it read?
Committee review.
Before we get into that, Shirley is waiting for the beautification appointment that comes right before that.
Okay, sure. Jerry, give me 30 seconds then. Okay, so let's skip to letter E. Thank you for that. So I was just scanning the room looking for faces that I knew that were on the agenda. All good. Letter E, the possible appointment to the beautification committee of Ryan Walsh. We do have his talent bank form application here. Is Ryan here this evening? Perfect. Want to step right up, Ryan? Thank you for submitting an application. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest in the beautification?
Yep, Ryan Walsh, 207 Cranberry Drive. Submitted a talent bank a little while ago. Wanted to get a little bit more, not familiar with the town, but just help out a little bit more. I already coach on all my kids' sports teams and things like that, so I'm just looking for other ways to help out around town. Beautification committee needed another committee member. Coincidentally, my dad's run a landscaping company for 25 years, so land beautification is what I do. So I, met with Shirley and the team actually already helped out a little bit already. So ready to join if you're willing to have me.
Terrific. Thank you for volunteering. Shirley, would you like to speak to this? Do you have anything to add for Ryan?
Our committee, I'm Shirley Graff, 199 Oak Street. I'm the chair of the beautification committee. We met earlier with Ryan earlier in July, and we all voted for him. And he jumped right into things, acquiring a rain barrel for the for the Margaret Fitzgerald Memorial Garden, and he also staked the new tree, Sully's tree, on the corner of Hemlock and Plymouth Street. So hope you'll endorse.
Terrific.
The
Sure.
appointment.
Any questions, Bill, or anything to add? Nope. We always appreciate the volunteers, Ryan. Thank you for volunteering and stepping up. I will make a motion and wish him well to appoint Ryan Walsh as an appointed member of the Beautification Committee with a term to expire June 30th, 2027.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you are unanimously chosen.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Ryan. Tim, did I just get him a second? So, same as before with the school committee, you'll have to go down and see Sue Lawless, the town clerk, at some point tomorrow or Wednesday as your time permits. So she'll officially sign your card and swear you in and all that good stuff. So that'll be downstairs waiting for you at your convenience starting tomorrow morning. Okay, thank you very much. Shirley, thank you. Sorry about the Amy, thank you for pointing it out. Jerry, okay, now we're good. Okay, we have letter F. Jerry Joy is here to speak on behalf of or for the Bylaw Review Committee. Jerry?
I'm Jerry Joy, 2 Christmas Tree Lane. I'm a member of the zoning board and a member of the zoning board review committee. Just to give you a little background, the review committee was going to present at 2:25, the annual meeting, a bylaw review. We've done a complete overlap of the zoning bylaws, and we've kind of made them simpler to read, put them in alphabetical order so that you're not going all over the place. So if there was one item for commercial, everything in there for commercial was under that one item. It just made it easy to do. Since then, the planning board at that time was not going to recommend. So we passed over, so we didn't bring it there. So, and then we had the election, so we lost the selectman, which was part of the committee, and then we lost the town manager. We left, and we had a new building manager too, so we've had a lot of people change. But I have talked to the members. The only person I haven't been able to get in contact was Jeremy Gillespie. He was a member of the committee. But John Bruno is here. He's all set to go forward on it. We had Jim, boy, I'm
Walters.
losing my mind here.
Walters.
Frank Johnson was here, and Jim Walters was here too. And both of them want to stay on the committee. Just to give you an idea, this proposal that we were going to put through, we were all set to bring it to the annual meeting. So that means that we were pretty much ready for it. And it was already approved by the legal. So money that was spent has already been spent. And then we had the problem with missing members and everything else on it. Recently, I said, we did too much work not to get this year passed. So I've been, the last 3 meetings of the planning board I've attended, and I pretty much said, okay, can you tell me why you didn't recommend it? And we've gone through a couple of items. One was that they thought it might have been too big, and if there was a couple of controversial items, it would be talked about at the annual meeting, and then eventually it'd be voted down because everyone would just be tired of it. And then there was another question that was site plan review was a problem. But I've asked for, give me everything in writing or what you don't like so we can sit down and talk about it and get it done. So we've been going through it, and now I want to make sure that we get a committee together so that we can, again, sit down and say, okay, here's the changes we have to make, and we can bring it forward. So we have John Bruno, myself, Jim Walters, and Frank Johnson have all said they'd like to stay on it. So we would need someone from the selectmen that would like to look at it. I mean, I've already talked to the building commissioner, and he can't attend any night meetings because he's got a lot of stuff going on. But he would say, I'd meet and review anything you want during the daytime, and I can meet with him anytime, when I can, and get his input and find out. He is the zoning enforcement officer, so his input is we should need to make sure that what we're doing, he can enforce and give him something that's correct. So that's what we'd like to try and do, and just get it back together again. This bylaw is ready to go. There are some tweaks. I'm not saying that we don't have some problems. We do have a couple. One is going to be on political signs. The state says that we cannot do anything about political signs. And in our bylaws, we say you can't put political signs up 60 days prior to and 30 days after. I mean, we're not talking about free speech. I think we're looking for cleanup. We just don't want to have the town loaded with political signs after an election. So I mean, so we have to come up with some kind of wording because the state says, it's free speech. So you can't dictate that you can't have a political sign in your lawn, which you can, but we're not saying you can't do that. But we do have to get some wording in there or we have to remove it. So that's something that, we'd have to talk about and get some report back.
Can I just ask a couple of quick, okay.
Go right ahead.
So in your suggestion, you did say that, this is pretty much ready to go. I'd have to review the charge, the appointing charge by, I assume, the Board of Selectmen who put this together. But am I understanding it right that Jeremy Gillespie is no longer participating?
No.
There's no current Board of Selectmen. So are you still actively meeting, or is this you doing?
No, I've only been doing it on myself because I wanted to try, this is too much. We spent too much time and money on this here not to just let it go.
So in your recommendation, you've spoken to everybody. John Bruno would be the citizen at large to replace Jeremy, and you'd be looking for a 5th person, one of us, to represent the board on my behalf. And when you say that you mentioned that things are mostly done, but that the building inspector is not available at night. So is it mostly done, or you still need the
There's-
building
there's-
inspector in?
Well, talking with the, planning board, there's a few things that have come up. And, okay, they're easy enough to resolve. We just have to sit down and talk them out.
Okay, but the vast majority is done, and
Yes.
there would be minimal additional recourse with legal?
I would say so, yes.
Okay. What was the, do you remember what the budget was for the committee at the time?
Unfortunately, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, we can look at the charge and the budget, maybe Pam. Maybe we can pull the charge. Sure. John, welcome back.
The original zoning bylaw, I looked it up, was, the bylaw review committee rather, was set in May of 2020. And if you look at that in our bylaws, it says the finance committee was supposed to run the show, hire a consultant, and then make a report back. Whatever happened between 2020 and January or so of 2023, I don't know. I know that original committee had gotten reformed, and then it was sort of it wasn't going anywhere. So Jonathan, myself, I think, I don't even know if Naja was involved in it, but we talked about, all right, let's get it going again. We had different reasons for it. So the board itself voted to reconstitute it into its last form. And the reconstitution, which is, I'm sure it's in the minutes somewhere, I just couldn't find them, was a selectman would be the chairman, the town administrator would be sort of a non-voting member, and then there were the rest of the members, as Jerry indicated, with advertisement asking for people that were interested. Frank and Jim both said they were. Jerry Gillespie said he was, and that's how that committee got together. So that's what it was.
Do you recall what the budget was?
I was just going to answer that. So in terms of the budget, we never had one. All of the bills were paid through the Board of Selectmen in the legal account. So what we did, we would meet with basically Cody would set it up. We'd meet with everybody. The lawyer would be there when we needed him. He'd submit a bill. We would just approve it and then send it up to the Board of Selectmen to vote on it, to actually pay it. So we never had a budget for anything.
Okay. So you started this 2 months into COVID. That was ambitious.
I'm sorry?
You started this 2 months into COVID. That was ambitious. Looking for something to do. Okay.
I don't know what happened in it. I wasn't involved in that, so I don't really know how that worked out, but that's, from what I can see in the bylaws, that's how it started. There must have been a reason for it, I'm sure.
It's designated funds in 2020, but like he said, they didn't start getting together till 23.
Yeah, that's when it starts, yeah.
Yeah, and that's when the
Looks like there was a voted appropriated amount at town meeting on June 15th of 2020.
Right.
Yes, but we, when we were doing it, I don't know where that money went. I don't know if they ever used it.
Because then it was COVID, and then I think you guys started.
And then 22. Fast forward 2.5 years. The first. Well, I take that back because the first bill that was billed from March of 22 through December of 22. It wasn't billed until 23, but there was activity. There was legal work done in 22.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what happened until January of 23 is when we reconstituted the committee. So what happened in between 20 and 23, I don't really know.
Okay.
But I know that when we were involved, that we didn't have a budget. It was, like I said, all bills went right to the board. Board of Selectmen essentially approved the lawyer fees.
Okay.
And you can, I mean, unless I understand it wrong, you can reconstitute this committee any way you want to. If you don't want to have one of the Board of Selectmen involved, you don't have to. You know, it's up to you how to do that. And I want to give Jerry a lot of compliments because that board did meet religiously for months. And we spent an awful lot here. We got it right here. He's got the whole notebook. We spent a lot of time. We went through everything. We've had advice from the current building, at that time building inspector Ed
Bailey,
who gave us a lot of good points. We had a legal counsel in there often, so went through a pretty thorough thing, and I give Jerry a lot of compliments because he's one trying to get this thing over the finish line, and I think that's what he wants. When we proposed it for that annual town meeting, if you recall, we couldn't get the planning board's approval on it, and so what we decided to do as a group was to withdraw it at that time, because understanding that if a zoning bylaw is turned down at town meeting, you can't bring it back for 2 years. So it doesn't make any difference really, because it's coming back in 2 years. But we wanted to withdraw it and then have that conversation with the planning board, which Jerry is now carrying the water on that. He's doing a great job. So.
Yeah, I remember it being withdrawn. There was that was in conjunction. That was the MBTA meeting,
Right.
and
that was part of it.
I know in conjunction with that meeting. That was as somebody who spent significant amount of time, 42 hours apparently of legal work, worth. I appreciate the bulldog effort, because if you're that invested in something and you put time and effort into it and you want to see it through, I understand that. So I would.
It's too important not to get done. I mean, we
Yeah.
have too much time, and just to let it die again, it's not good.
I would be interested in learning more about it. I do have questions about the composition of the committee, and I'm just gonna. I'll just put the cards on the table. There have been numerous questions about members of the finance committee serving on this zoning bylaw review committee, spending money, and whether that's allowable to sit on both the finance committee and another committee.
I mean, honestly, at this point in time, it almost doesn't matter who's on that committee, because all the work's been done. Jerry is going to carry the ball for the most part, which he has. But when I look at the finance committee bylaw that was amended in 1998, it says that the finance committee members can't be on elected or appointed positions that deal with the expenditure of funds or anything having to do with having to do with money. What that means, in my view, I don't think this committee would be one that would be doing that, because again, we never spent any money. It was just passed up to the Board of Selectmen to pay them.
And maybe that's why it was designed that way.
So,
Okay.
if you don't want them on there, if you don't want me.
Oh, it's not specific to them. It's not specific to them. I just want to be clear on what the.
But if you look at the bylaw, that's how it's written.
Okay, we can review.
What that means, if you want to have somebody invest the time in the town council, you could, or you could just reconstitute it any which way you want to. And again, the work's done. I mean, the only part that's not done, and that's where Jerry's really picked up the ball here, is to try to get the planning board's input as far as whatever disagreements or suggestions they might have in that bylaw.
Yeah, I've watched the last couple meetings.
It's like a negotiation at this point.
Okay.
I mean, if there is one particular item that they don't want to put in there, we can take that out and present that separately. Because, the main thing is to get this whole package passed. And if there's an item that's controversial, we can pull that separately and make that a separate item at the end.
Yeah, you don't want it to be preventative.
So that way there, that's taken care of, and we still have the bylaws to complete.
Yeah, along those lines, whenever this is presented at town meeting, I don't see any reason why we couldn't do it if we had to, like he's suggesting in multiple articles, right? Say, okay, we're gonna do this, and then there's another article on this, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, there's ways, we just didn't have it set up that way 2 years ago. We could.
Okay. Do you have any questions? I mean, like I said, I value the work that was done. I don't want it to go by the wayside. I guess my question or concern would be how we get the ball rolling again. If in fact, and I guess I can review, or we can review one more time about the finance committee members being involved. Either way, we would have to either appoint or have one of us be a member of that committee, or
Not to interrupt, I forget how the appointment came. I don't think it had an ending. I think it was just an appointment. Usually they say you're going to end at a certain time. I don't think it had an ending, but.
no, and that's how the government study is as well. There's no way it's open in perpetuity. But if it was constituted as 5 members, we would have to appoint a 5th member in the absence of Jeremy, which would presumably either be one of us or we farm it out. In which case, we would want to submit talent bank applications, right? As an appointed position, we would want to go through that process.
Really do it any which way
No, I understand.
You don't want me on it? Fine.
No, I wouldn't.
Finance committee, fine, but Jerry's important.
Yeah, if, look, if we want, we can have someone on the planning board on this too, which is no problem.
That's what I was gonna suggest.
3 meetings that I've had, I'll tell you, James Walsh, I mean, he's a new member, so it's new eyes, and he can look at everything over, but he's asked, every time I presented something, he's asked some pretty good questions. And, I haven't asked him to be a member, don't get me wrong, but I'd love to have him on it, or any of them.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Why don't we, well, I mean, is there harm in waiting till August 11th on this? I mean, is there an urgency in the next
No,
2 weeks?
What we're looking for is to try and have this here in the spring meeting.
Okay,
That's
so
what
why
we're
don't we,
looking for.
why don't we table this? First of all, open to any questions, and then why don't we table this for a future discussion? Let it marinate, think about how we want to handle that, whether it's a planning board member, somebody on this board, or our talent bank application. Go over our options and invite Jerry in at a minimum, along with anybody else who you deem appropriate from your former committee, John, Frank, or Jim. And at a minimum, we'll look to place somebody else on that and continue the work.
Does it have to be 5 people?
Well, I want to look at the charge too. I want to see, because before.
If you want to change that, you can change it.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
I can tell you, because I was involved, right, and I'm sure Pam will find those minutes, but it was probably in January of '23 or so, because the MBTA thing was getting hot, and we needed something to look at that issue. So that's when we said, well, the zoning bylaw review committee should be doing that. And that's how it kind of started, and it was, I believe, it was my suggestion to set it up the way we did.
Okay.
What I wanted at the time, which I thought was the most important thing, was to have a member of the Board of Selectmen on that committee and serve as the chairman for a couple of reasons. One is because he could keep it moving, and secondly, because this committee doesn't have any money, any funds, that if there was a member of the Board of Selectmen on the committee, that we would get the resources we might need, such as a town administrator, or legal fees and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So that's why it was set up that way.
Mhm.
But if you guys have a better idea, we're going to do whatever you think is the right thing to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't say enough about the members that we had. Every one of them was fantastic. They're long-term residents of the town. They care about the town. And they spent a lot of time just going over. We had a lot of arguments, not arguments, but discussions on why is this? Why don't we do that? So it was good. It was very good, yeah.
Okay.
You know,
Well,
the finance committee guys, they're not easy.
well, thank you for your continued work on that. I do find value in that. I appreciate you seeing something through, or trying to see something through to the end, for sure. So we'll be in touch and invite you back.
Good enough.
Okay.
If you want, I can send you another copy of the bylaws that we have. I can send it up to you so you have it.
The ones you've worked on and revised?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Yeah, why don't
So
you?
you'll have it in hand, and you'll see, you can go through it. What I've done with the planning board is I've taken like 20 pages, and I marked out all the changes, and I gave it to them.
Yeah.
And then the next meeting, I gave another 20 pages. I
Okay.
just want to get each section squared away.
Sure. Yeah, if you want to send that to Pam or directly to us, that's fine. We'll have you back, Jerry. Thank you.
Okay, thank
John,
you.
good to see you.
Nice to see you guys.
Any public comment or participation on that topic, relative to this topic?
Where zoning can be a touchy issue, I would just recommend that you have those meetings videotaped.
Yeah,
so that people can go back and pull meeting minutes and ask questions over why they made those decisions and what was discussed.
Yeah, we're making an effort, I don't know if it was our last meeting or not, but we're making an effort to have, to the extent possible, all boards and committees videotaped, a lot, not live, but videotaped and on Area 58. That's the goal, sooner rather than later. Water, this one, everybody who's not currently doing that, to do that, efforting to do that. Yep. Anything else on this topic? Yes.
Amy Troop, 10 Hillside Ave. I was part of the zoning bylaw review, and I have my card stamped without an end. The way that this occurred was that we were meeting, and going over a chapter or two and going over it on videotape with an attorney. That was the 2022. Probably didn't meet before that due to the COVID and, all of that craziness. But when we did put it together, we had a group of 9 people. The reasoning is because zoning bylaws protect people's property rights.
And I'm a huge advocate for property rights since I sell real estate and I understand what the zoning is. What happened was that we had some changes in government, and then for 7 months, I was from January 23 to July 23 into August, because I was in full communication asking whether or not anybody else on the planning board wanted to participate, and we were trying to put together meetings, and we had a few people that were being, that were new to the board that were not allowing meetings to occur. Where we didn't get another planning board member to step up, Gordon R. Andrews was going to remain on it, and we did have, and he was told that he couldn't remain on it, even though, because he wasn't elected to the planning board anymore. But I don't know what his card was, but there was some detriment done to it. I continuously emailed and stayed in touch with John Bruno, former selectman, about this, and then in a meeting in August of 2024, he dismantled the 9-member board, took every planning board member off of it, including myself, citing that I was against MBTA housing, which I believe 712 people in this town were at a meeting that was roughly, 720. So I would say that I'm pretty in tune with the residents of this town on what they want as far as zoning goes. So I think, number one, it got dropped back to 5 people, and we had 1 person that knew zoning, 2 people that didn't. And just so to make a point of clarification, in December of 2024 is when the Thorndike project got pushed through. That was actually presented at the same August meeting where they dismantled the zoning bylaw review committee and went over the Thorndike project with the 5 members. And so that was a significant thing that happened. Then when we had the MBTA vote in the next December of 2025, that's when we had the 712 vote against it. Now move forward to the hearing of the planning board where we went over the entire rewrite. There was a lot of things that weren't right about it. If you watch the hearing in April, forgive me, I forget the exact date, but April of 2025, you can see that I actually read the entire rewrite and asked questions and went over the whole entire.
That was in this room, right?
It was. And I went over the whole entire rewrite. And so you can see the different problems that were within it by that. And I'm not stating that the whole rewrite is gone or shouldn't be, but I think that some of the comments and some of the town members have stated to me that they think that it should be a 9-member board or a 7-member board consisting of somebody from the planning board, somebody from the zoning board, somebody from people that actually are working with the zoning bylaws instead of people that are on the finance committee that don't necessarily have full knowledge of zoning bylaws and the processes of how we actually use them as far as like site plan review. They don't experience that on a regular basis, and therefore how would they know how to properly do that? I'm not saying that other people from the town like at large, but it's a very important process and it has to combine the whole entire town. Again, as a real estate agent for over 21 years, I would say that I would know zoning bylaws, and I really honestly think that I was removed for reasons to push through Thorndike without my mouth being there, making sure that everything was going okay. And I actually asked the chair, going back into December of 2024, at the hearing for Thorndike, I asked the chair of the zoning bylaw review committee at that time what was actually removed from the law to allow the overlay, and he didn't know. So I find that pretty concerning, because basically what happened was Thorndike wrote the overlay and they pushed it in front of us, and there was a lot of things that I would have stopped and made. For instance, if I was on there and Thorndike wanted to do this overlay, I would have made huge concessions and negotiated to make sure that our senior center was built, not funded by the basis of condos sold, because there were a lot of ways that we could have made that happen. I'm a good negotiator. That's why I do what I do. So I think that it was a really bad thing for the town, and we can see that now. I could get into a whole bunch of things about Thorndike, because I don't think that we're really getting the money from each sale.
Let's stay here.
Yep. But I'm just saying, like, this is I'm making a point that it's a very important process.
No, and that's why I think we're going to take some time to review it.
Thank you.
I'd like Jonathan's opinion on it. I'd like Bill to digest it. We probably have some questions. I think they said that they were open to suggestions, ours or others, in terms of appointments, whether it's specific to the planning board, members at large, member of the board of selectmen. I think it's all up for review at this point, but there's no set charter and no set end date. I think it's up to our discretion at this point.
That sounds great. Did you look like you might have something?
No, I think it should be a member of the planning board on there. I really do.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
And can I please step up and?
Oh, yeah.
This is what I had with an open seat, and I always made sure that everybody knew, both at planning board meetings and otherwise by email and everything, that I wanted to stay on it.
Okay. Jerry and then Gordon.
One thing I lost, Amy just said that she has reviewed everything on our proposal. I just asked, put in writing. Can you tell me in writing, so I'm not gonna, what's the problem? What is the problem? Tell me in writing. Article 1, boom, I don't like this. Article 2, I don't like this. Just put it in writing. I've been trying to pull it out of them for the last 3 meetings.
So it's the planning board specifically, or?
Yes, planning board specifically.
Okay.
I said, they're the ones that said, we're not gonna approve it, we're not gonna recommend it. Okay, well, tell me what you don't like. I don't wanna hear about other boards. Unfortunately, I was on the other board, and, we tried to do it stuff, but things happened. We had selectmen that left, we had the attorneys, the first attorneys we had never showed up in meetings, so we had to cancel them and get another one. So things happen. But we're at the point right now, if you have a problem with something, and that's why I've been giving them pages, tell me what you don't like. We're open to anything.
Okay.
And all we've done is try to make this simple. We haven't changed a lot of stuff in this here. If there's something that we did, she's gonna say we did it, just tell me. Put it in writing, so I'm not gonna come up and say, okay, you said, she said, I said. Please, just put it down in writing and we know. It's simple enough to do. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. Gordon?
I was on the Board of Selectmen when the original group was made, I believe, when we voted to have the 9-member board. I think, looking back at what happened afterwards, the board was condensed. I think, just bluntly, Amy was removed from the process, and I think that was to try to make things move faster. But I think by removing Amy's voice and other people that were assumed to be against change, that it broke the process. I think if you had the discussion at the smaller group, then when it got out to the bigger group, a lot of those items would have been resolved. So I think having a dissenting view on some things might make things difficult in the beginning, but at the end process, you've already discussed a lot of those issues. So when you are discussing the makeup of the board, I would look for somebody that would be dissenting to some of changes that other people would be for. And I would also just ask you to review the changes in zoning and other dwelling issues like ADUs that have happened within the state within the last few years, so that what they worked on encompasses those changes as well. Thank you.
Anything else on the topic? Okay. We will circle back to that. Jerry's going to send over copies of what he has to Pam at his convenience. We'll review it in conjunction with a suggestion from Gordon about recent developments in zoning and ADUs and all the changes since that version. Is that version dated, Jerry?
I can date it for you.
Okay.
It would be the version that we had for the 2025 annual meeting. So, yeah.
In May or December? Wasn't it December? No?
December of 2024 is when we voted on the Klondike
Okay.
overlay.
Okay.
And December of 2025 is when we voted on the MBTA
Okay.
overlay. And in April of 2026, I'm sorry.
25.
Sorry, 2023 was Klondike, 2024 was MBTA.
Okay.
25 in the spring was when we didn't move it forward to town meeting.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, if you want to send a dated version to Pam, we'll look at that and we'll circle back to you shortly. Sometime in August. One of the next two meetings, we'll circle back.
Just as a note, I could show you the work that we had done when we had the 9-member board. I have a full binder on everything that we did.
If you want to send that along to Pam, that would be great. Is that possible?
I'd have to bring it in and make copies or something like that. I'll work it out.
Okay. Is anybody else here for anything specific before we run through the rest of it? Get some faithful people online. Okay, I'm going to go quick in order here. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. I move to affirm approval of the following warrants. Withholding warrant number 123 for $116,029.19. Vendor warrant number 129 for $42,942.32. Withholding warrant number 3 for $96,442.23. And a vendor warrant number 4 for $174,225.80.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. I move to approve the following warrants. Payroll warrant number 5 for $289,679.89. And vendor warrant number 6 for $58,501.71.
Second.
Okay. New business. Let me find it here.
Sue, come on.
I think Sue. You know, I didn't realize
So we just,
we should have had her go first, but I will read her. She told me after she yelled at me. Kidding. Where are we?
we're just gonna sign these warrants, that's what you have to do.
Oh,
It's a warrant, so just, I don't think you have to vote on it, she just wanted it.
She wanted it. I think we're going to read it, right?
And then we vote and schedule.
This is from this, Susan Lawless, the town clerk. Important dates for September 1st, the 2026 state primary. Please be advised of the following important dates and deadlines for the state preliminary election, which will be held on Tuesday, September 1st, 2026. Election day is that Tuesday, September 1st, 2026. Last day to register to vote is Saturday, August 22nd, 2026. Early voting period is Saturday, August 22nd through Thursday, August 27th, 2026. In the town clerk's office at Town Hall. And the vote by mail application deadline is Tuesday, August 25th, 2026 at 5 p.m. So we will sign that and return it. I think that satisfies that, correct? Okay. We've done B. We have road openings at 314, Unit 314B Plymouth Street. This is a gas line.
Gas
line. Eversource. It has been. Let me just circle down. All applicable parties have signed.
Yep.
Let me just read that.
Yes.
All applicable parties have signed. So I will make a motion for the Eversource trench permit, the road opening, to be approved at 314 Unit 314B Plymouth Street as written.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. It is unanimous. Okay, Bill, did you have a chance to approve, to look at the meeting minutes of the Board of Selectmen from April 28th, 2026, May 11, 2026, and May 26,
Yes.
2026? Any questions, concerns, comments, additions, or deletions?
No, I do not.
Okay, I will take them separately. I will make any comments or questions on that. I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as printed on April 28th, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. I will make a motion to approve the May 11th, 2026 meeting minutes as printed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. And lastly, I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the Board of Selectmen of May 26, 2026 as printed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. G. This is something that's, I don't know, do you want to speak to it? Okay.
Yeah, I can give you guys a little bit of background via memo only a couple weeks ago, just to sort of give you a gist of what I was thinking in my conversations with staff in relation to the cuts they've now experienced in their departments, and the opportunity to cut back hours that are available to the public so that they can have more time to focus on compliance issues and other issues that don't require their attention to windows, because not that we can't work without distraction, but it gives the focus to, especially the folks in finance, to finish things like payroll and get on those things first thing in the morning. We have seen a slight reduction in that time, but anyways, to get to the meat of this, what I'm proposing would be that Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, Town Hall would be open to the public from 9 to 3 p.m. with a standard lunch hour between 12 and 1. Sometimes that lunch hour, depending on the department, will be a half an hour minimum. It could extend to a half an hour, another half an hour, depending on if the staffing is available. What I'm trying to avoid there is forcing staff to eat their lunch at their desk. They shouldn't really have to be forced to do that. They get a full hour for lunch, so they should be able to take that time and enjoy that time doing lunch where they see fit. A little bit of background on this, and of course the Tuesday long day would still remain 9 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. So folks who are taking advantage of the longer hours on Tuesday would still be able to take advantage of those hours. And again, this is just to try to maximize some efficiency while we're still experiencing cuts. This could all change tomorrow.
Excuse me, Steve.
Yep.
Are you saying 9 a.m.? Because here it's 8 a.m.
Yeah, I did. So you had 8 a.m. in the memo. And
Right.
it is actually 9.
Okay.
Yep. And the reason for this was we saw a 10% reduction in staffing from a headcount perspective amongst those offices, and then we also saw the 30% reduction in the actual frontline staff that deals with windows. So that's where we lost the most staff, was the folks that are dealing with the public that actually come in and have to do their business, whether it's paying bills or they're down at the assessor's office with abatements, whatever the case may be. So this proposal will only adjust to public-facing hours only. It doesn't apply to police, doesn't apply to fire, doesn't apply to the highway department. It applies to town hall only. The purpose of this change is not to reduce public service, but to improve the town's ability to deliver consistent, reliable, and efficient service despite reduced staffing. These will provide predictable public service hours, improve consistency at the service windows because we're now lacking that staff, reduce the interruptions during complex administrative work. I don't know if you guys have been by the office, especially the treasurer collectors recently. You probably see Linda at the window a lot more than you're used to seeing her, and that's based on one cut in her department. And again, she's responsible for doing all the reconciliations in the town. Her job is of a high level from a compliance perspective. And it's not to say that she's not capable of dealing with interruptions during her day, but if we're gonna ask her to man that window, we're paying a little bit higher a rate for someone to be doing that when she has other duties that she really should be paying attention to. And again, it's nothing, none of this is attributed to the staff or individuals at all. This is really just about the staffing level. Operational benefits that I see are particularly advantageous in payroll. We saw an advantage this week where we actually did gain some time. Lindsay informed me that they were able to make it through payroll by the end of Monday this week, which was actually sort of a landmark because typically it takes into the day on Tuesday to finalize it. So that means Harper's has at least made an initial dent up front here, like I had anticipated, which is good to see. Some examples of work that's being done when folks are coming in, the public, just so they get an idea of the work that we're doing behind the scenes. So we're doing payroll processing, we're doing accounts payable, we're doing budget administration, we're doing procurement, we're permit processing, we're doing public records requests, we're doing financial reconciliations, we're doing meeting preparation, and we're responding to all emails and voicemails as they come in. So that's typically what your department has that's their necessary responsibilities in their departments. So now that they're being pulled to the windows, that becomes a problem because they have to adhere to that. And a lot of those items I just mentioned come with strict compliance and legal requirements that are handed down by Mass General laws. I do believe that this will actually improve customer service because we'll be able to, rather than dividing the attention between walk-in customers, telephone calls, emails, and our deadlines, staff can focus on these responsibilities early on and then focus more on the public when they come into the building, albeit for a shorter period of time during the day. This will end up being what I see as also a long-term support for the employees themselves, because it will increase their morale, it will help with retention, it will help with their productivity, and it will ultimately help with their workplace wellness. Not going to name names, but I've had some reports out of departments about the amount of work that is already picked up based on the cuts, the minimal cuts we did make. I mean, we lost a head count of 2 folks, and then there was additional spots that were not backfilled. So individuals in the building are feeling that spillover from responsibilities of other people's roles that we're just going to have to sort of figure out and move forward with. And then again, the main focus I also made sure to keep was preserving that evening accessibility on Tuesday nights, making sure that we're still open to the 6:30 hour, because I know folks that if they're going to target one day of the week to get their business done, they'll target that Tuesday when they get out of work. So we can still offer that. And then encouraging alternative service options, whether that's paying online or by mail, electronically, or using the drop boxes. I'm surprised how many people don't utilize the drop boxes. They prefer to come in and actually get serviced at the windows. It's just very interesting to me. Maybe just a social experiment for another day. But I expect outcomes of improved operational efficiency, reduced administrative backlogs, increased staff availability for complex work, improve response times to calls and emails, better utilize limited staffing resources, provide more consistent customer service, and ultimately, heading into next year, I think Halifax is going to have some questions as far as what they're going to be able to afford staffing. And I think that if we can get some of these positions into more of a hybrid cross-collaboration setting, it would provide some long-term stability for town hall operations. If we can get some cross-training done, get some floaters accepted by the union, so we have those administrative folks floating on the floor and have more of a cohesive sort of one unit operating down there, and people can do multiple things. So again, I'm proposing Monday 9 to 3, Tuesday 9 to 6:30, Wednesday 9 to 3, Thursday 9 to 3, Friday closed. And just so everyone understands, this doesn't mean the folks are coming in at 9 and clocking out at 3. They're still coming in at 7, and if they're scheduled to be in at 7, and they'll still be clocking out at 4 or 4:30, depending on their full work schedule. So.
Okay.
I'd just like to say something.
Sure.
I see the schedule, and I'm really concerned that you're limiting people who work a week, 8 to 4 is a normal work day, to one day. Tuesday will be a mad rush after they get in here. I think you should open up one other day, like in the morning or in the afternoon after 4:30 or 7 a.m. Just people going to work or doing something, you're bringing it all down to one day now. There's going to be a line out the door at that time. I don't know.
Certainly agree.
If I could pass that down, okay. Double check me, okay. So listen, that's a lot of work and a lot of information. I think it's important to note that it's not going to save any money from a town perspective standpoint. Theoretically, it improves efficiencies and gives some balance to employees. I'm going to steal a line from EJ from the previous meeting. There's a couple of different balls in the air here with current events and short-term meetings to happen shortly. So, I think we should table this idea pending future events unfolding one way or the other. I also would just like to add that we are less than 30 days in to changes impacted from the May override failing. And while I know the impacts are felt, which is different than what EJ said earlier, that the fire department still has money to fund their salaries and wages in July, while the town employees are feeling that strain now, I'm not 100% convinced that 30 days in is enough of a sample size. But even if it was, while I think the idea has great merit and some possibility, I'd like to see how other things unfold in the very near future prior to making any decision on that. I think we should have more information. So that would be my opinion, would be to...
Can I just add one more?
Yeah, to table it.
Table, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, can I just add one more
Yeah.
bit of information on that? So when we're looking at folks adding responsibilities, especially our admin staff who just got unionized, when they add responsibilities, they then will have the ability to go to their union and speak to the union business rep to potentially argue that those responsibilities are then due for an increase in compensation. So they're
After 30 days, they're
typically, yeah, once you have presumed, it will stipulate in the actual CBA, I'd have to look at the timing,
All
but
right.
if you assume someone's role or their responsibilities for a set period of time, you actually do the compensation that that person was actually, or a partial compensation to
Okay.
make up for that. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, well,
as
why-
we have the short staffing, but again, it could all change tomorrow. We know
I was,
that-
well, I was just going to say, why don't we table this till one of the 2 meetings in August? Let the chips fall, see where the things unveil themselves tomorrow, and revisit. Either way, let's revisit. Pam, if you want to throw it on a future agenda, how about the next one? The 11th, if that's okay. Did you have anything else on that, Bill?
No, I agree to table it.
I
mean,
don't think it's a bad idea in
Right.
practice. I would look at the hours maybe a little bit different on one of the days, but that's nitpicky. Because I do think there's an opportunity. I mean, similar to, I used to work in banking, there's a similar thing. With online banking, debit cards, direct deposit, does the bank need to be open for inside service at 7 o'clock on a Friday night? If the bank is open till 8 o'clock, you'll always have those last minute people coming in at 8:15. If you're open till 9, they'll come in at 8:45. People will adjust. I just want to make sure that we're not acting hastily in terms of a reactionary type of thing, and I do want more information based on tomorrow night. So,
Totally understand.
okay. All right, so we'll table that one. Okay. Someone's gonna have to double check this entire agenda before we leave. Holidays in Halifax.
Use of town greens.
Use of town green. One question I did have on this, and I was hoping she was gonna be here. I was gonna take her up on her attendance. She's usually here. They had a vacancy, or they had a reappointment in June that was held. And I suggested at that time that we submit talent bank application forms. And there was some talk at that time that Holidays in Halifax and the fireworks in Halifax were going to combine forces.
Yes.
I'd like an update on that, separate from this agreement tonight, but maybe we could ask for an update. Because if they're not gonna merge or change substantially, we should move to fill that spot appropriately as we do others. So if we could ask Kim or somebody appropriate on that. But being where we are today, this event will be held, Holidays in Halifax, it's always a great time, to be held on what I assume is a Saturday, 12/12, and a rain date of 12/13. Set up time 9 a.m., start time 5 to 9 p.m. It is, will there be any sale of food? Not on the town green. Food trucks across the street per usual, Halifax Elementary. I'm sure they'll have a surprise or two in store for us per usual. It's always a great event, very well attended, both inside and outside. Multiple boards and committees are involved in that. It's always nice, you know, the blacksmith shop open, the school, highway department's very involved. I would, the library, I would make a motion to approve the Holidays in Halifax use of the town green on 12/12/26 with a rain date of 12/13/2026 as requested.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. But Pam, if you could just get in touch with him on that question?
Yep, I got it.
Just as a follow-up. Okay, we'll do this next one, aye, in one lump sum. If anybody on this side of the table or in the room has a hold, you can speak to it. I'll pause between each name. And then rather than go through them each individually, we'll do what we did on the reappointments previously and approve them as a bunch. So this is the election worker reappointments. There are 15 or so. These are the Democratic Party election workers. The town is looking to reappoint. You can say hold if you intend to hold. Kathleen Miller, Judith Wall, Denise Stark. The Republican Party election worker, there's one, Arthur Vogt. And there are 2, 4, 12 or so unenrolled party election workers. Pamela Aducci, Elizabeth Sierri, Robert M. Doherty, Janice Hayward, Ann Hodge, Elizabeth McGann, Hope McIver, Jill McKee, Barbara Jennings Ramsey, Catherine Roach, William Russell, and Linda Saviano. I did not hear any holds. Any discussion needed? Questions?
No, and then these are the terms. Terms gonna expire.
Terms to expire 7/27.
Okay, so I will make a motion to approve all those, on the 3 categories, all listed election workers for reappointments or appointments with terms to expire, reappointments, with terms to expire July 27, 2027 as printed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay. Letter K, ambulance abatements. I will make a motion to approve ambulance abatements for June 2026 in the amount of $116,520.09 as printed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, give me a quick scan of the meeting.
That's
Yeah,
it.
that was ambulance abatements. I believe minus Stevens' potential report, no. Okay. I believe we have everything.
You did a good job.
Okay. That being said, thank you to all who attended tonight, very well attended for our standards. Thank you to Dr. Proul, both the Finance Committee and the Halifax Elementary School Committee and those in attendance for your participation. Meetings are always better and more productive when we have the help of people who are invested in the town. So thank you all for being here. Our next meeting is our next meeting is tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Our next regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen meeting will be Tuesday, August 11th.
No, tomorrow at 5 p.m.
No, 8:30 a.m.
It's Thursday.
I'm sorry.
Oh, boy.
It's been a week. It's been a week. Let me back up. Our next meeting will be 5:30. It is the pre-meeting of the Halifax Board of Selectmen.
So it's not 5, it's 5.
It's 5:30.
Okay.
It's a public open meeting, open session, Halifax Elementary School in the large conference room. At 5:30, we will then move to join town meeting at 6:30 p.m. Same spot as always. And hope that everyone can be there tomorrow. We're looking to redeem ourselves and give ourselves a reprieve from the last town meeting. So good thoughts there. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be on Tuesday, August 11th. Sorry for the confusion there. But for now, is there any more public participation or comment? Anything from our side of the table? Pam, thank you as always. It is
8:39.
too early, 8:39 p.m. I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, Caesar and the crew behind the scenes. We are adjourned.
See you tomorrow.